Welcome CSC 121, Programming 1 for Fall 2020. This is Challenge 5, and we're going to call it Turtle Circles, and it's very much like the exercise we did with the CMYK and the RGB of drawing the boxes, except these are circles. And this is a challenge, so you're going to kind of do this on your own, but I'll get you started with this, and this isn't that difficult. A couple things I want to point out here is we're going to use a method called a circle method, so you don't have to draw a square by using a loop or anything like that. Now these circles that are here, they're about 50 pixels going across, but when you give them a value, you actually give them the radius, so whatever they are, so it's going to be half. So these are actually 25 radius, and they make about a 50 circumference pixel, I guess, if that's the, or diameter, I guess I should say diameter going across. So it's 50 going across, but we use 25 as the radius. That's the value we put in. And they start at this point. If I look at the black one here, they actually start at this point and just go around. That's how they make a circle. And these are both sitting on the 0y axis. So they're sitting on here. So they're not completely centered going through these. They're setting here, and we'll just leave them there, and that's fine for now. And what makes this easy is once you make one, the other one's just going to be kind of symmetrical. So if this is like plus 100 in terms of its x, this will be minus 100. If this is plus 100 in terms of its y position, this will be negative 100. So once you get a couple set up, it'll be pretty easy to reproduce. And you're going to be able to use a file that you already have, so you don't have to make up all these variables again for all these colors. We'll use the same colors. We'll use the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. We'll do those first, and then you could do the RGB and then the gray at the end. So we'll set them up like that, and even getting in position is just kind of fudging it a little just to try and find that kind of in-between area there. And again, these will all be the same, these four, and the four in the diamond shape will all be the same. So when you get started with this, what you're going to want to do is go to your repels and go in your folder and look for the one that you already did. The RGB one was 12B because we did a 12 first where we did CMYK, then we did an RGB. So I'm going to open up this, the one I did with my RGB, and I'll just run it just to see what I did here. And that was the RGB one. It did the 4 blocks of CMYK, and then it did the RGB and the gray on the outside. And we're going to make circles. Now what I'll do is I'll go here and I'll fork this, which will basically make a duplicate of it. Then I could go into here again. You could call it CH5 for Challenge 5, and just call it Turtle Circles. You don't have to put CMYK or anything like that. Just call it Turtle Circles. Is fine. If you want to put your last name, first initial, that's fine. And then you could just hit enter. So we could use the import turtle from this. We could use all the variables, except we don't have to use a large and small because they're all going to be the same. Matter of fact, I'm just going to change this right away and just put SZ for size, and I'll change this to be SZ for size. Now down here, we don't need this for loop. So you can get rid of this for loop that's down here that makes a square, because you're not going to make a square. And you could just say t.circle. And you do have to put an argument in here for a circle, and you're going to put in SZ, because that's where you're going to use the 25 that's going in here. Actually, I don't think you need this. Let's get rid of this. We can just use the variable in here, and that's fine. And then we can actually just have 3 of these, because if the size is all the same, we don't need to change these. So these are the CMYK, and I guess I should be letting you figure this out, but when I did it, I didn't even think of that. But all of these can change. Now we're still going to have 8 function calls. So you could leave the 8 function calls here and just get rid of the size, because the size will just be built in. They'll all be the same size. So there's no reason to send an argument for size if they're all the same size. We might as well just build in the size here, and that's what we're going to do. So we can get rid of all these size here because we don't have 2 different sizes. That's why we had that the first time. But since we only have a difference of color and their X and Y, that's all we need here. And what I'd recommend is actually commenting out all of these so that you could just focus on the first 4 and then do these one at a time. That seems to work out better. So once you do this, so you could even just try it out here and see what happens. You know, just try it out. Run it, you'll probably get a bunch of circles all over the place. All right, at least you have something to look at. There's your 4 circles. Now, you're going to want one down here, one up there, one over here, and one there. And that's going to be up to you to figure it out. These values are going to be in here, so you're not going to have any at 0, 0. You're going to actually have them in kind of like a cross format, where you're going to have kind of a north, south, east, west, and they'll all be the same. And guess what? They're all going to use these numbers. So it's all going to be, there's going to be no 0, 0, but there's going to be 0 and 100, 0 and negative 100, 100 and 0, and negative 100 and 0. So they're going to all use the same numbers here. You just have to figure out the right ones. Now for these are going to be a little bit different because you're going to do the ones in between. And I'll give you a hint. It's probably going to use something like a 75. I'll throw out that number 75 because that might get you a little kind of over and down a little bit and get you in between. And then once you do one, they'll all be the same. So get these working out in their first pattern. And I'll just give you a hint to get started here. If you start the cyan at the bottom, so that would be 0 for the X. That means that the X is right in the middle. And then as far as the Y, you could start that at like negative 100. And see how that one works for the cyan. And even if you want to comment these out, you could do that. That way you're not being confused by looking at all the other ones there. And you could just try that. And you could say, that's good. Now I need one up here. And it's just going to be the opposite. So however you do this, if you do magenta over here, or if you go cyan, magenta, yellow, black, however you do that. But get kind of the 4 kind of north, south, east, west here. And obviously this one's going to be up 100, this one's going to be over 100, this one's going to be over 100. And then the other ones for the RGB and the gray are going to be in between. And like I said, you might try 75, something like that, see how that works out. So that's all the hints I'm going to give you. So that's what you're going to do for the challenge. And just try to work it out a little bit. And when you're done, just share it, copy it, and put in a comment. This is still under Unit 12. It'll be called Challenge 5 Turtle Circles. So that's all you have to do for that. And I will have a PDF posted for it as well. So good luck with that.